Welcome to the Apcon Technical Training video series. This series of instructional videos is broken into 9 modules. The objective of this training is to provide a detailed overview of the Apcon product portfolio so that you can effectively recommend solutions to meet your customers' needs. This video series is provided in addition to live training presented by your Apcon Regional Sales Manager and System Engineer. Each video covers a short session on one aspect of the Apcon solution. You may watch the videos in order or pick any video to review its contents later. In this first video, we will cover the core advantages of the Apcon Intelligent Network Monitoring solution.
Just a quick overview of the agenda for this morning. The first thing we'll do is go over key product advantages and features, and then we'll take an overview of our software, our IntelliFlex, IntelliTap, and IntelliStore products, and our Titan software. And then we'll have a product demonstration. After that, we'll go over the process for building a bill of materials, including how to understand our part numbering and things you need to think about when you're preparing a deployment. And then finally, we'll review how to get help with technical issues, how to get resources that are available to partners, and then a summary. Now, throughout all of this, we'll have several sections for questions. So go ahead and submit your questions as we go, and then from time to time, we'll stop and review them and answer them at that point. So here's a nice shot of our product line. You can see our various chassis and blades and a quick view of the software, and we'll be diving into that a little bit. But first, where we fit in your network. A lot of people consider the Apcon product to be kind of a glue that ties your data sources, shown here at the top, to your destination tools down here at the bottom. Data sources can be span ports, also known as mirror ports, or they might be taps installed in links that you need to monitor. With Apcon in the middle, you're able to take a single span port and multicast it to multiple monitoring tools. This resolves an issue commonly known as span port contention, when more than one monitoring tool needs access to a single port. We're also able to take multiple source ports and aggregate them together into a single data stream for things like a data recorder that would need to monitor multiple parts of your network. You'll notice a couple of other details here. Here we're aggregating these two data sources, one a 10 gig link and one a 1 gig link, aggregating that together and sending them out to 1 gig tools. So one of the features of the product is the ability to perform rate conversion from between 10 gig and 1 gig and so forth. You'll also see these little icons here. These filters indicate these funnels indicate filters that can be applied on either ingress or egress ports. And we'll get into how you configure those and what their capabilities are. Once again, a picture of our product family. The advantage to using our blade-based or chassis-based architecture is that it allows you to get a lot of density in a small amount of rack space. Here's our 8-slot chassis, 8 RU of vertical space, and you can fit 288 ports within that space. This allows you to, by offering this family from a 1 RU chassis, a 2 RU chassis, a 4 RU chassis, and an 8 RU chassis, and interchangeable blades, which can go into any of these chassis, it allows you to start small, if your budget requires it, and say a 2 RU chassis. If in the future you need to grow beyond that, you can change the chassis out to a 4 or an 8 RU chassis and move your existing blades into it. It really conserves a lot of your investment by being able to scale like that. Having an 8 RU chassis with 288 ports possible in it means that you don't have to stack smaller chassis together using stacking cables, which are failure points and choke points for your data. It's another view of our chassis. Some of the same points I've made here. In particular, with a chassis, you have a single IP address to go to configure all of the ports within it. So 288 ports are shown here, an 8RU chassis with 8 36-port blades installed. All of those connections from any blade to any blade, many to one, one to many, many to many, one to one, any type of those connections can be made across the entire chassis by pointing your web browser at a single IP address. One thing I want to point out on here is that we have two different kinds of chassis in the 2, 4, and 8 slot size. And we call them the XE chassis or the XR chassis. These are higher speed backplanes, which will become important when we begin talking about backplane ports on the individual blades. There are certain blades that go into the chassis that benefit from being in the high-speed chassis, and we'll talk about that. There are some blades that will require a high-speed chassis. So keep in mind that we have standard chassis in the 2, 4, and 8, as well as high-speed 2, 4, and 8 slot chassis. Another key advantage to the Apcon chassis is that we separate the data and control planes. This is something that we call latching architecture. When you configure our switch to pass data through it from the sources to your destination tools, once you've configured it, that patch, that configuration latches onto the blades. If for some reason you lose communication with the chassis, for example, this picture over here shows our redundant controllers located on the back of the chassis. If for some reason you lose contact with the controllers, or if they fail, or if you pull both of them out of the chassis, it has no effect on data that's going through the blades from your sources to your tools. This is something that's fairly unique on the market. We have complete redundancy and complete independence of the controllers from the data plane. This product is designed for very high reliability. I mentioned that the blades can be swapped from chassis to chassis. They are hot swappable. The power supplies, the controller blades, and even the fan blades are all hot swappable, and we have redundant controllers and power supplies. In fact, if you were to have a failure or for some reason need to replace a blade in one of the chassis, you can pull the chassis out of the blade without removing power, plug a new chassis into it. The controller will recognize that a new blade has been installed and is not configured, and it will push the configuration onto the blade. So with a hot swappable blade, auto-configured upon replacement, you can recover from failures that much faster.
Thank you for watching this Apcon technical training video. The next video in the series is Module 2, Apcon Features.